Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really going to immerse ourselves in something called the body code system.
That's right.
And just so everyone's clear, we're basing this entirely on the source materials you've shared with us.
Exactly. No outside info, just what's in those documents.
So the mission really is to explore what the body code is presented as, how it supposedly works, and what it's meant to do.
Right. Strictly from the source perspective.
Let's get into it.
Okay, so the material describes the body code as, well, a holistic way of looking at healing.
Holistic, okay.
Yeah. And the core idea, is about finding and releasing what it calls energetic imbalances.
Blockages.
Energetic imbalances.
Hmm.
And these are seen as affecting what, physical things, mental.
All of the above, apparently. Physical, mental, even spiritual well-being, according to the sources.
And the basic idea, the premise in these descriptions is that these energy disruptions are like the root causes of why someone might feel unwell or stuck.
That's pretty much it. The sources trace it back to a Dr. Bradley Nelson.
Okay, who is he? He's described as a holistic chiropractor and a medical intuitive. And the story goes that he developed this system after seeing, recurring patterns in his practice, things that maybe chiropractic alone couldn't fully address.
Ah, okay. And didn't the material mention something came before the body code?
It did, yeah. Before the body code, Dr. Nelson apparently released the emotion code. That was back in 2007.
The emotion code, focused just on emotions.
Specifically, yeah, on releasing what the sources call emotional baggage.
Right. And this is where that really striking figure comes in, isn't it? The material mentions Dr. Nelson believes something like 85%.
Yeah, up to 85% of the challenges people face, he felt, were connected to these unresolved emotional issues.
Wow. And that could be recent stuff or old stuff or even things described as what, inherited.
Inherited emotional baggage, yes, that's mentioned as a possibility within the system's framework. That 85% figure is definitely a key point they make.
So the body code came later, in 2010.
Correct. And it's presented as, well, a more comprehensive system. It takes the emotion code and kind of folds it in.
Adds more.
Adds 5 other types or categories of imbalance it looks for.
Okay, there's 6 categories in total within the body code framework. Let's break those down. What does the material say they are?
Okay, so based on the info we have, the 6 are, first, energies.
Which includes those trapped emotions from the emotion code.
Exactly, but maybe other energetic disturbances too. Then number 2 is pathogens.
Pathogens.
Right.
Like actual viruses or bacteria.
Well, the energetic components related to them is how it's described, not the physical pathogens themselves, it seems.
Ah, okay. Energetic signatures, maybe?
Something like that. Third is circuit or system.
Which means?
Imbalances in, say, organs, glands, or the energy systems like chakras or meridians.
Got it. Number 4.
Misalignment. This covers structural issues, but also energetic misalignments.
Okay. 5th.
Toxin. Again, dealing with the energetic aspects of toxins seems to be the focus.
And the last one.
Nutrition or lifestyle. So imbalances related to diet, sleep, exercise, that kind of thing.
Okay, that maps out the territory the system claims to cover. So how does a session actually work? If someone goes to a practitioner, what happens according to these descriptions?
Well, typically, the material says a client comes in with specific issues or problems, things they want to address.
Right. Pain or maybe feeling stuck somehow.
Could be anything, yeah. The practitioner might list these out and ask the client to, rate how severe they feel. On a scale, maybe?
And the goal is to lower that number by the end.
That seems to be the aim, yes. Reduce the severity rating.
And then there's this step about checking if the client is energetically testable. What's that about?
Yeah, the sources mention that the practitioner apparently needs to make sure the client is sort of ready for the testing. Checking things like hydration levels, make sure their spine is aligned, things presented as needed for accurate energetic testing.
Okay. And there's another step mentioned where the practitioner asks for help from a higher power.
Yes, the description includes asking for assistance, using phrases like source, God, or however people prefer to see a supreme force. That's presented as part of the setup.
Interesting. Okay, so after that,
Then the practitioner uses the system's tools to ask the client's energy body?
their energy body.
That's the term used, yes. Asking it to reveal the priority issue, the main thing that needs addressing first.
Okay, and how do they ask the energy body? What are the tools?
Right. The material specifies using applied kinesiology, which most people know as muscle testing.
Muscle testing, okay.
Yeah. And they use that along with very specific directed questions. And these electronic charts called the body code mind maps.
Ah, the mind map. So that's the core method. Muscle testing plus these charts.
Exactly. Those are described as the way the body code identifies what the source is called the root causes. The goal is finding and then releasing these non-beneficial energies, holding the problem in place.
So once they use the muscle testing and the mind maps to pinpoint an imbalance, how do they release it? What does the protocol say?
Well, the sources explain that in the original method from Dr. Nelson, the practitioner releases the imbalance by swiping a magnet
A magnet. Where?
over the client's governing meridian.
The governing meridian.
Mm,
That's a specific term from like acupuncture, Chinese medicine, isn't it?
it is, yeah. So swiping a magnet over that energy pathway is described as the release mechanism.
Okay. And they just keep doing this, identifying and releasing.
Pretty much, the practitioner keeps going, identifying imbalances, releasing them with the magnet swipe until the client's body indicates either that specific issue is cleared or that they're just done for that session, can't process anymore.
Right. The body says, enough for today.
Something like that. And then the session wraps up, often with the practitioner checking back in. Does the client feel different? Has that severity rating changed?
Okay. So based on all that, what kind of results or outcomes does the material claim are possible with the body code?
Well, the sources are quite specific in claiming it's particularly effective for reducing chronic pain.
Chronic pain, physical pain.
It mentions physical, yeah, but also spiritual, emotional, or mental pain. So pain in a broader sense.
And does it stop there? Or does the material suggest other uses?
Oh, definitely suggests other uses.
Yeah.
Because the whole system is based on this idea that everything is fundamentally energy.
Right.
The material suggests you can apply it to pretty much any area of life. Things like work or finances, relationships, even finding your life purpose. If there's a block, the idea is the system might help address it.
Though a very wide scope of application, according to the sources.
It certainly seems that way, yes.
Okay, so let's just quickly recap what we've covered based on your source materials.
Yeah.
We talked about the body code system, its origins with Dr. Bradley Nelson.
Right, building on the emotion code.
The 6 categories of imbalances it looks for: energies, pathogens, circuit or system, misalignment, toxin, and nutrition or lifestyle.
We covered those, yeah.
And we walked through the session process, described using muscle testing, asking directed questions, using those mind map charts.
And then releasing imbalances with the original method using a magnet over the governing meridian.
And we touched on the claims about its effectiveness, especially for chronic pain, but also its potential application to other life areas, all based on that energy perspective.
That's a good summary of what the sources present.
Now, before we finish, there's something really important in the material we need to highlight: a disclaimer.
Absolutely crucial. The sources are very clear on this. They explicitly state that this system, the body code, is not intended or implied to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment.
So it's not a replacement for seeing a doctor.
Not at all. The advice given in the sources is very strong. Anyone with an illness or health concerns should consult with a medical professional, period.
That's vital context. Does it say anything else along those lines?
It does mention, kind of separately, that if you are experiencing long-standing pain, you might consider trying a session with a certified practitioner. But that's presented more as a suggestion alongside the main medical advice disclaimer.
Right. So the disclaimer is paramount. Okay. So as you, our listener, have heard all this information about the body code system drawn purely from the materials provided, what aspects of this whole approach, well, stand out the most to you? What catches your attention?
And maybe one final thought to leave you with, again, based strictly on the descriptions we've discussed from your sources.
Yeah.
Remember that figure we mentioned earlier, Dr. Nelson's perspective that up to 85% of people's issues could be linked to that unresolved emotional baggage.
Right. Recent, old, or even inherited.
If, and it's a big if, based solely on this source perspective, if that much could potentially stem from our emotional history, what might that imply? How might that perspective change how we think about tackling challenges in our own lives?
Just something to maybe mull over, viewing it purely through the lens of the information presented in these sources.